your self-doubt makes you vulnerable. Since we do not attach to you, since we are unburdened by guilt, conscience, or remorse, we do not question ourselves. We do not reflect. We do not sit and think, I could have done that better. Maybe I was at fault. Mid-range narcissists, of course, may well create the idea that they could have done something better as part of a pity play, but they genuinely do not actually think that way. The narcissist never, ever considers themselves incorrect, at fault. There is no doubt. Our narcissism enables us to forge a path, always moving forward. Of course, there are varying levels of effectiveness with regard to the life of the narcissist, because remember, what the narcissism is focused on are the prime aims: fuel, control, character traits, and residual benefits. And dependent upon the level of the narcissist, the relevant school, some narcissists go through life hugely successful. Others have haphazard lives, in and out of work, health problems, repeated difficulties with interpersonal relationships. However, what the narcissist does not do is ever look back and think, I fucked up. My life is a mess. Again, certain narcissists might say that for the purposes of drawing pity from people, but it is not a genuine consideration. The narcissist does not return home and reflect on their behaviour and think, I could have done that better. That might be articulated in front of somebody else by reason of controlling them, but when the narcissist sits alone, the narcissist will not think to themselves, I could have done this in a more effective way. That performance was poor. Donald Trump does not retire at the end of the day and think, good Lord, how stupid did I look in that press conference? He closes his eyes and thinks, I am the expert. I am the best. That news conference was brilliant. I was on fire. There is no doubt in his mind. There is no doubt in any narcissist's mind. You, on the other hand, can be plagued by self-doubt. And this self-doubt makes you vulnerable to us. There are 7 different ways that I'm going to describe to you whereby your doubt makes you vulnerable. You are resourceful and confident and independent individuals at times. And this does not mean that you provide brazen displays of who you are and your success, but rather you proceed in an understated, quiet and assured manner. However, when we arrive, the imposition of our manipulative behaviour causes you to doubt yourself, and with the activated emotional thinking caused by our arrival, certain of your traits are seized upon by that emotional thinking to cause you to question yourself, to cause you to self-flagellate, to doubt yourself. And the consequence of that makes you vulnerable. It paralyzes you, prevents you from implementing no contact, persuades you to give us another chance, causes you to think that you're the one at fault and that you should correct your behaviour. It enables us to hoover you, to continue to maintain control over you. It is important for you to be aware of these 7 ways by which your inherent traits are corrupted by our presence and emotional thinking, so they work against you, so that you know what they are, so that when it happens, you can realise, this isn't actually genuine. I'm being misled by the corruption of one of my traits, or more than one, by my emotional thinking. That isn't logical. I must fight against it. The purpose of this video is to identify those traits for you so you are able to recognise them when they are being exploited by our presence and emotional thinking, so that you do not continue to be misled by them. Number 1. Is it actually my fault? Your empathic trait of honesty and your empathic trait of being a truth seeker are corrupted by emotional thinking to cause you to ask this question. We have you asking yourself this repeatedly and pondering whether what has happened is your fault. Did you do something to attract somebody like us? Did you miss some sign which you ought to have seen, and therefore it is your own failing which has caused you to be exposed to our control and our abuse? We cause you to analyse your behaviours as you become burdened with guilt, which is the corruption of your empathic trait of honesty. We, of course, through our need to assert control over you, are experts in blame shifting, and through the repeated application of denial, deflection, and projection, we must avoid any and all culpability for our actions, leaving it therefore to impact upon you. Because it can never be our fault, we make it your fault, and because of the corruption caused by your emotional thinking of your empathic trait of being a truth seeker, you want to get to the bottom of it, and your honesty, you're honest about analysing yourself, you end up believing that it may well be your fault that things have gone wrong. You believe this because we are so adamant that it is not our fault, and this position on our part as a manipulation against you combined with the corruption of the emotional thinking creates such a level of conviction on our part and eroding doubt on yours that you invariably do believe that you are at fault in some way. You also don't have black and white thinking, and therefore, because you will think in shades of grey, you can see, well, perhaps partially it was my fault, perhaps I did overreact. I can see actually just recently I have been shouting at him a lot, maybe that's why he's reacted the way that he has. You end up blaming yourself. It is natural for you to always reflect on your own behaviour. That is central to who you are, and we instinctively recognise that. Add to this our incessant blame shifting, and this steady drip, drip, drip of the accumulation of blame will eventually take its toll, and then you start to accept the blame and regard yourself at fault. You should not do so. Number 2, did I love him enough? This is the corruption of your empathic trait of being a love devotee. How many times have you been told, you would do it if you loved me, or you wouldn't do that if you actually love me like you say you do? You face the ultimate in supposed love through love bombing at the outset of the relationship, and its sheer scale of apparent passion, affection, and love will cause anything else to pale by comparison. You will repeatedly have this thrown in your face as we tell you time and time again about how much we love you, how much love we have shown for you, how we have loved you beyond anything else, and nobody could love you any more than we do. Notice, however, that this is the repeated use of words, and our actions actually demonstrate something else. Is it any wonder, when faced with such repeated assertions and the behemoth that we are of love, that you will query whether you gave enough love towards us? Again, you doubt yourself, and because we repeatedly blame shift and point to the fact that we love you so much, you then reflect and compare, have I loved him or her sufficiently compared to the love that they have demonstrated towards me? As a believer in love, and this varies to different degrees for different empathic individuals, your love devotee trait is corrupted to cause you to wonder, have I loved this person enough? You end up querying, perhaps we have behaved the way that we have because we feel that we love you more than you love us. We will certainly tell you that. And because you are such a devotee of love, you will then feel obligated to try and match what you have received. That is impossible for you to achieve, because the love that we exhibit is purely smoke and mirrors. Easy to conjure up, easy to say, and what you understand as love takes much more effort, as it is based upon emotional empathy, which we will not have. However, this will not stop you wondering whether you do enough, and whether a little more love might just be the solution that is needed to make everything perfect again. Thus, we keep you hanging on, exploiting your love-devotee trait, so that you try all the harder. Number 3. Was I wrong to leave? Again, emotional thinking corrupts your empathic traits of honesty and decency. This nagging doubt is created by us in order to keep alive the prospect of hoovering you. Our narcissism knows that you possess a near indefatigable spirit that causes you to stay and try to make things right. So often, it is us that brings about the cessation, albeit temporarily, of the relationship, and we disengage from you. On the rare occasion where you decide that you have had enough and you make a break for the border to free yourself of our poisonous influence, we recognize that you will have reservations about doing so. Even where you believe that it is the right thing to do, you will always have that nagging doubt. Ought you be doing this? Should you give it another chance? Maybe you should try harder. And similar questions. We recognize that you want to achieve resolution. And that is why we lead you around the houses and up the garden path with our circular arguments. We recognize that you prefer to achieve an outcome. Consequently, our narcissism causes us to never fully answer questions, to cause us to deflect and deny. This desire for a conclusion means that should you ever walk away from us, we recognize that you will be plagued by some guilt, and you believe that you ought not to have done it. What if he could have been helped? What if he could have changed? What if he needed my help? Those thoughts are the corruption of your empathic trait of the desire to heal and to fix. Such doubts will manifest and mean that when we loom large as we seek to hoover you, this desire to leave nothing hanging, along with a host of other manipulative methods designed to get you to return, leaves you susceptible to being hoovered into our twisted world. You are always wondering, what if? Number 4, should I have given him or her another chance? This appertains to the corruption of your empathic trait of truth-seeker, namely, to find out what could have happened, and your empathic trait of the desire to heal and to fix. Perhaps the relationship could have been saved, could have been improved. Maybe if you had given us another chance, to add to the dozen or so that you've already given us, then the outcome might have been different. You invested so much, and you gave us so many chances. Perhaps then you have cut us loose far too soon. Maybe one more chance was all that was required, and now you are left wondering if you have made a mistake and lost the opportunity to help us and resolve our problems. Perhaps you had better try again and give us that further chance. It would be such a shame not to do so, especially after all the effort you have put in. Why waste it? Why not just give it one more go? This might have been the point at which everything clicked, and we finally made the changes and gained the understanding and insight that it is required to return to a permanent golden period that your emotional thinking misleads you into thinking is obtainable. If you want to understand more about the golden period, listen to the video of the same name. You want to see good happen. We recognize this, and therefore we understand that you have that nagging itch that if you just gave us another chance, this might be the one that is required to get us past the post. Of course, what will actually happen? You give us another chance, and another chance. And because you've given us so many chances beforehand, your emotional thinking causes you to think, one more won't be a problem. I've tried so hard so far, another month or two, just to see. And then it becomes, well, I've invested so much already, I don't want to give up. And of course, what you're failing to see is that there can be no change, that there is no point in providing us with another chance. You succumb to this doubt and invariably give us that another chance, again and again and again. Number 5. What if someone else makes him happy? This is actually the corruption of your narcissistic trait of jealousy and envy. You, as an empath, are a bundle of narcissistic and empathic traits, and if you want to understand which ones you have and how strong they are, utilize the Trait Detector consultation, which you'll find in the menu bar at narcsite.com. One of the doubts that you will often have is wondering if someone else will make the narcissist happy. You will end up thinking, have I been too hasty in making my escape? What if he finds someone else and she makes him happy? Or he makes her happy. That would show that it can be done, and you let him go, and now someone else is going to get the benefits of that wonderful golden period, and she or he might get it all of the time. Why should she or he get this when you have endured both the black with the golden? You are entitled to receive the golden period again, surely. Perhaps it was something you had done, and now she knows what it is and what to avoid, because he will tell her what you did in the relationship, and then she'll avoid making your mistake, and she'll end up reaping the reward. How is that fair? Why should she benefit from the pain that you have endured? It is your golden period, and you want it back because it felt so wonderful. In fact, having checked the Narcissist Facebook page for the 6th time today, there seems to be a lot of mutual liking of one another's posts between him and some new lady, whoever she is. What's going on there? Has he found someone new already? Could she be the new one? You had better act and do so quickly to avoid somebody else getting the golden period for good. Why not ring him and arrange to meet up? Head her off at the pass. Our behaviours and that emotional thinking creates this doubt in your mind to cause you to think somebody else could make the narcissist happy, and therefore you should act and try and get us back. This will not work, and if you want to understand more about this, please listen to the video, Will They Be Happy Together? Number 6. Maybe I didn't help him as much as I could have. But the risk of sounding like Elvis Presley is always on my mind, and this is another element of doubt that creeps into your mind. There was something clearly wrong with the individual, but maybe he or she could not help doing all of those things. This is the corruption of your empathic trait of compassion. Perhaps something terrible once happened to him, and this is why he behaves in such an abhorrent manner. Surely you should show some compassion and understanding in order to help him be free of whatever demons that plague him. After all, are you not a kind and considerate person? This is what you do, isn't it? Help people. You should not run out on him now. He needs you, and you are the only one who can save him. The emotional thinking gets hold of your empathic trait of compassion, and perhaps that empathic trait of the desire to heal and fix, and ascribes you the role of saviour, and that it is the appropriate thing to do to help somebody who is broken and in need. It whispers, just be understanding, help him, give him what he needs, and then together you can overcome whatever it is that has taken hold of him. You have seen him bleed. He is human just like you, and it is help that he needs, not condemnation. Yes, what he did to you was terrible, but what if that could not be helped? What if he was trying to ask for your help and did not know how to ask for it? Now you have walked away from him, right when it is his hour of need. That's not very empathic, is it? That isn't who you are. You are kind and caring, a healer. Go back, apologize and help him. Submit to his demands and help him walk through his personal hell. Surely it is the least that you can do. Yes? Your emotional thinking, combining with the presentation of the narcissist as a broken individual that requires your help, results in you doubting that you have done the right thing by walking away. Number 7. Did I deserve it? This is the common self-flagellation engaged in by the empathic victim. It is the corruption of your empathic trait of decency. You spoke out of turn too many times, so what did you expect him to do? He is a proud man, and it was inevitable that he would lash out against you. If you had not been so weak, you would not have annoyed him. Perhaps if you had done more of what he had wanted, gone along with his demands just for the sake of quiet, things would have been drastically different. If you had not been so stubborn, or had tried to change him, if you had not tried to mother him, if you had not tried to mother him, would it have been somebody else? If you had stayed true to yourself, what if you'd been more like his mother, less like his mother, more like her, less like her? You did try, but whatever you did always seemed to rile him, and then the insults and assaults would fly. Maybe if you had kept a civil tongue in your mouth, it would have turned out differently. Perhaps if you had tried to look at things from his perspective more often, rather than thinking about yourself, then the outcome would have been better. You wish you were stronger, and you needed to be stronger for both you and him, but you weren't, and that must be the reason that he treated you the way that you did. Your weakness irritated him. Maybe if you had not been so pathetic, then he would have continued to love you like he once did. Perhaps if you had not fought back when he was despondent, he would not have felt the need to put you in your place. Maybe you just did not do enough of what was needed because you were too busy focusing on how you felt, your own needs, and that is why it all came tumbling down. Maybe you failed to understand him because you were too wrapped up in yourself. Maybe, just maybe, you got what you deserved. These are 7 ways that a combination of our manipulations, invariably pinning blame and accountability on you for the many failings in the relationship, and your own emotional thinking conspire against you to cause you to doubt yourself, with the risk that you remain vulnerable to not implementing no contact, vulnerable to not leaving the narcissist, vulnerable to allowing hoovers to occur, vulnerable to being drawn back in the formal relationship once again. Recognize that these self-doubts are entirely common, but they are a manifestation of emotional thinking, corrupting your empathic traits and building on the manipulations that we engage in. Recognize them, and when they appear, banish them through the application of logic. Thank you for listening.